My mother told me about the bad man who lived in the basement. He had lived there for thousands of years and was so evil and hungry that he would have planted 5 babies in me and then eaten us all in a 6-course meal, tossing our bones on the dirty floor. And after that, I began to see terrible things. I didn't tell anyone about the things I saw, not even my mother. Most people didn't know I was half Chinese, maybe because my last name is St. Clair. When people first saw me, they thought I looked like my father, English-Irish, big-boned and delicate at the same time. But if they looked really close, they could see the Chinese parts. My mother gave me my eyes. I'd open them very wide until I could see the white parts. But when I walked around the house like that, my father asked me why I looked so scared. I have a photo of my mother with this same scared look.
My father said the picture was taken when Mom was first released from Angel Island Immigration Station. She stayed there for 3 weeks until they could process her papers. Somehow, in the end, they declared her a displaced person, lost in AC immigration categories. My mother never talked about her life in China, but my father said he saved her from a terrible life there. Some tragedy she could not speak about. My father probably named her in her immigration papers.
We're moving up in the world. Your mother is thrilled.
And we did move up, across the bay to San Francisco and up a hill in North Beach, to an entire neighborhood where the sidewalk was so steep I had to lean into the slant to get home from school each day. I was 10 and I was hopeful that we might be able to leave all the old fears behind in Oakland.
My mother was not happy with the apartment, but I didn't see that at first. And soon after that, when she and I were walking to the bus stop, she met a man who threw her off balance.
I found you, Susie Wong, girl of my dreams.
Ah!
What's going on?
Things not being balanced.
But what do you mean? What's going to happen if they're not balanced?
Later, my father explained it to me.
Your mother's just practicing her nesting instincts. All mothers get it. You'll see when you're older.
And then a few days later, I found out that my father had been right all along. My mother was going to have a baby.
I began to hear voices coming from the wall, from the apartment next door. That first night I heard the muffled sound of someone shouting. A woman? A girl? I heard a woman's angry voice, then another, the higher voice of a girl shouting back. And now the voices turned towards me, like fire sirens turning onto our street, and I could hear the accusations fading in and out.
Who am I to say? Why do you keep bugging me? Then get out and stay out. Rather die, rather be dead. Why don't you then?
It struck me that the worst possible thing had happened. The baby's eyes were open and his head, it was open too. I could see all the way back to where his thoughts were supposed to be, and there was nothing there. No brain, the doctor shouted. His head is just an empty eggshell. After the baby died, my mother fell apart, not all at once, but by piece, like plates falling off the shelf one by one. I never knew when it would happen, so I became nervous all the time, waiting.
Lena, can you get that? Who is it?
It's next door. It's
Teresa.
Teresa.
Let her in.
What are you doing?
My mom and I got in this huge fight. She pushed me out the door and locked it behind me. She expects me to wait out there for her. But I'm going to use your fire escape to get back in my bedroom. She'll get worried and open the door and I won't be there. I'll be back in my bed, safe and sound.
Won't she be mad?
Nah, she'll get over it. She'll just be happy that I'm safe or not dead. We do this thing all the time. I stared at the open window for a long time, wondering about her. How could she go back? Didn't she see how terrible her life was? Didn't she recognize it would never stop? I lay down on my bed, waiting to hear the screams and shouts. And late at night, I was still awake when I heard the loud voices next door. Mrs. Sorcia was shouting and crying, "You stupid girl! You almost gave me a heart attack!" And Teresa was yelling back, "I could have been killed! I almost fell and broke my neck!" And then I heard them laughing and crying, crying and laughing, shouting with love. I was stunned. I could almost see them hugging and kissing one another. I was crying for joy with them because I had been wrong. And in my memory, I could still feel the hope that beat in me that night. I clung to this hope, day after day, night after night, year after year. I would watch my mother lying in the bed, babbling to herself as she sat on the sofa, and yet I knew that this, the worst possible thing, would one day stop. I still saw bad things in my mind, but now I found ways to change them. I still heard Mrs. Sorcy and Teresa having terrible fights, but I saw something else. I saw a girl complaining that the pain of not being seen was unbearable. I saw the mother lying in bed in her long flowing robes. Then the girl pulled out a sharp sword and told her mother, "Then you must die the death of 1,000 cuts. It is the only way to save you." The mother accepted this and closed her eyes. The sword came down and sliced back and forth, up and down, wish, 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 and the mother screamed and shouted, cried out in terror and pain. But when she opened her eyes, she saw no blood, no shredded flesh. The girl said, "Do you see now?" The mother nodded. "Now I have perfect understanding. I have already experienced the worst. After this, there is no worst possible thing." And the daughter said, "Now you must come back to the other side. Then you can see why you were wrong." And the girl grabbed her mother's hand and pulled her through the wall.